One pacifying word is noble. This is a story of Tambadathika, who was an executioner in the employment of the king. So let's read the verse. Though 1,000 speeches be composed of meaningless lines, better the single meaningful line one hears than comes to calm. So the important one-liner is better than all the myriads of meaningless lines that we can hear. Now, for the story. Tambadathika, as I said, was an executioner. He was an executioner for a long time, 55 years in fact. So, as an executioner who was working for the king, he killed, chopped off the heads of many, countless criminals, mostly thieves, so it's said. So, over time, he grew old and he could no longer do the clean one blow cut off with his head kind of thing. Sounds a bit gory, but we want a clean cut so that there would be less suffering. It's most humane, I would say. So at the end of the 55 years, it was time for him to retire. On the day he was supposed to retire from office, he ordered some sweet milk porridge to be cooked for him, and he prepared some old clothes, jasmine flowers, perfume. So he actually went and bathed himself, donned all these old clothes, flowers, and rinsed his hands ceremonially with the necessary things. And he sat down. And at this point, he saw Venerable Sariputta came to the door. Venerable Sariputta is the chief disciple, is a chief disciple of the Buddha. The other one would be Venerable Moggallana. If you go to a temple, especially a Theravada temple, usually you will see perhaps a statue or an image of the Buddha, and he would be flanked on either side by his two chief disciples. One would be Moggallana and the other would be Sariputta. Sariputta would tend to be depicted as a fairer skinned person compared to Moggallana. This is based on some descriptions in some of the scriptures. So, Venerable Sariputta, a chief disciple of the Buddha, came to see Tambadathika. So, Tambadathika quickly paid his obeisance and then invited Sariputta to sit down to partake in a meal and also invited him to give his discourse of the Dhamma. However, as Venerable Sariputta was giving his discourse, he noticed that Tambadathika was having trouble concentrating. This former executioner was feeling uneasy. You know, there was this holy man in his house, and he, a person who had formerly killed countless people, taken their lives, off with their heads, that kind of thing. So he was a bit agitated. His mind was not calm, and therefore he could not absorb whatever was being told to him. So Venerable Sariputta stopped and asked him, "Did you have intention to kill these people?" So Tambadathika replied, saying that he was acting under the orders of the king and he did not have intention to take the lives of these people. Personally, he had nothing against them actually. So Venerable Sariputta asked him if Tambadathika thought himself guilty. Tambadathika reflected and said, "No, And with that, his mind calmed down and he concentrated on the discourse of the Dhamma given by Venerable Sariputta to the extent that he attained Sotapatti and even the next stage of it. So at the end of the discourse, it was time for Venerable Sariputta to return to where he was staying. And Tambadathika respectfully accompanied him for part of the way. So he walked along with Venerable Sariputta, then turned back to go back to his house. And on the way back, he was gored by a cow. This was actually an evil spirit that took the form of a cow and gored him to death. So when Sariputta returned and the other monks asked him what happened to Tambadathika, Venerable Sariputta explained that Tambadathika had actually attained not only Sotapatti, but had actually progressed to the next stage, and he was now in the Tusita deva realm. So the other monks were quite surprised and they clarified. They wanted to know whether someone who had killed so many people can actually be reborn in Tusita heaven. He could actually so quickly attain Sotapatti and be reborn in such a fortunate realm, a deva realm. The Buddha then explained that the length of the discourse is of no consequence. If one word of sense can be espoused and absorbed, it can bring much benefit. Tambadathika was very fortunate that Venerable Sariputta was there and he could make Tambadathika understand in very succinct form, very efficiently, what needs to be understood. He calmed down, he attained Sotapatti, and he moved on to the Deva realm just in time. Like and subscribe. See ya!